All right, welcome everybody to another episode of We All Speak in Poems. This is actually episode number 10, which is, I feel like it's just good planning there.
Yeah.
With this being sort of the 2021 extravaganza list of our favorite things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the year in review kind of thing.
Yeah, this episode, we're just going to sort of be going over our favorite novels that we read this year, our favorite non-ambient albums, our favorite ambient albums, our favorite live videos, stuff like that. The stuff that we talk about didn't necessarily come out this year, but it's just what we've been enjoying this year together and everything. And yeah, I guess we'll start on novels right away. I guess, get your phone out,
Yeah, it's just going to be a lot of names thrown at you.
Yeah, start writing down whatever we say because they're all very good. Trust us. But yeah, we'll start with novels. So this year, you and I both started the year with a goal of 2 books a month.
Yeah.
I had never read that much. And surprisingly, I met that goal.
Yeah, you did really well. You wanted to actually hit 25 just to round it up.
Yeah.
Which you didn't do.
No, I got
you were
24.
1 book short, yeah.
I was half a book short. I finished. Well.
Oh, right. Because we read one book that we both really enjoyed twice. Yeah.
Well, 1.5 times.
Yeah.
But I never finished it again, so I didn't hit 25, which is fine. I'm happy with 24.
Yeah.
I think for 2022, though, I'm kind of going to not have that many.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just not going to put a number on it. I don't think.
Yeah.
Just read whenever I want to.
Now that you're in the rhythm of reading, I feel like that'll be easier to do and you'll be more inclined to do it. But like you said, you had never read this much before. I think maybe the most you had ever read in a year was like 4 books.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it was a huge accomplishment. Yeah,
and it was really fun. And I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'll just read out all 5 and then we'll talk about them after, I guess. Right? So these are in no particular order as well. They didn't come out this year necessarily, all that. So at the top of my list is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which is a fantasy sort of just poetic, really awesome fiction book. If you haven't heard of it, you should look it up because it's...
That one actually came out this year.
Oh, did it come out this year?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. I heard about it from Ben Nespejani, Neon Pajamas, of course, because I get all my great recommendations from him.
Oh, I lied. Sorry. It came out in 2020.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, seriously, look it up because it's very good. Piranesi. And all these books and the authors that I'm sure I'll butcher the names of, they're going to be on our Instagram and in the description of this, if podcasts have descriptions, if you can see those. Anyways, so back to it. The second one I have on my list is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haydon, which was a fantastic book as well. I read that earlier in the year, and it blew me away. And it's a shorter novel, too. I think it's only like 150 pages, maybe 200.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think it's like 200.
It's like 200. So it was a quick read, though.
It was easy to read because of the narrative style. It's a very easy flowing book. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it was great. I'm going to read that one again for sure. I haven't yet, and then the third one I have on my list is The House by the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune.
I think it's actually House in the Cerulean Sea.
Either way.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I guess we'll get that right on Instagram.
Yeah.
Which is another fantasy book or novel, and it was really good too. I could say a lot about that book. It was just fantastic. I think it's on the top of a lot of people's lists this year.
From this year, yeah, because I had found it at the start of the year through a booktuber.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember his name. You've been watching him recently.
Yeah, I don't know his name.
I
think it's Jack. Jack something.
Yeah, Jack. That's it. It's Jack. I don't know.
I don't know his last
name. But yeah, I heard about it through him. He had just like glowing reviews and mentioned that he had heard it from other booktubers and stuff. And so yeah, that was our first time ever reading a book pretty much from a YouTuber. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was a good experience.
Not written by a YouTuber, but recommended by a YouTuber.
Yeah. And then my next one is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, which I feel like I was really late on that. I feel like people in like grade 8 were reading that, and now I'm 26 and finally getting to it. But it was fantastic. The narrative style was really cool and unique, and I'd never read anything like that. And I'm really into historical fiction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was right up my alley. And then the last one on my list is The Bleeding of the Stone by Ibrahim Al-Koni, which Chantal has been trying to get me to read for years.
It's my favorite novel.
Yeah.
I love that novel so much.
It was really, really good.
Oh, it is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's kind of confusing going into it, I feel like, but it's worth it.
It's
so
another
worth
short
the
one.
read. Yeah,
it's kind of a harder read. Not harder. It's less. It's just a harder read to me, as a sort of new reader.
It's not as straightforward as most books,
Yeah.
like he speaks very metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so those are my 5. Once again, they'll be on Instagram. By the way, if you're not following us on Instagram, you should follow us on Instagram.
At We All Speak in Poems.
At We All oh yeah, true. At We All Speak in Poems. So yeah, which 5 books are on your list?
So it's probably no surprise, but we read a lot of the same books this year. So like 3 out of 5 are the same as yours. I also wrote down Piranesi by Susanna Clarke.
Just the best.
It honestly was. I've never really been a big fantasy reader. My favorite genres were always like memoirs, and I enjoyed historical fictions as well. And then I guess just regular fiction. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this year I really pushed myself to read a lot more historical fiction and fantasy. And Piranesi and House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. They were by far my favorite fantasies of this year. Mm-hmm. My favorite historical fiction was Homegoing. I don't know how to say her name. By, I'm going to say Yassi. I think that's how you pronounce it. That was an amazing novel. I loved it so much. It kind of felt like a memoir, the way it was written. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful.
But it's like a history of
a whole
family lineage, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's a really cool way to sort of write a novel. I think that's such a cool idea.
Yeah, it was beautiful and heartbreaking, and just so many emotions in that novel.
I'm going to read it this year.
And then my 5th one, I guess, yeah. So the other one that was in common with you was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. Mm-hmm. That was a favorite of mine. It reminded me of a novel I had read years ago. What is that one called? My Imaginary Friend?
Yeah, Memoirs of an Imaginary Friend.
Memoirs from an Imaginary Friend.
Yeah, which I also read this year, and it was very good as well. I really liked that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. When I first read that one, I actually read it all in one day because I just got so sucked into it. And that one's by Matthew Dix. It's great. And it's very similar in my mind to The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, the way the narrative is. It just flows so nicely. And
yeah, they're both really easy reads and very satisfying reads. Maybe easy is not the right word, but satisfying is.
I think the similarity that caught me was just that they're both written from the perspective pretty much of like a childlike narrator. Mm-hmm. And I really liked that.
Yeah, very good.
And then my 5th is, I'm actually cheating. I wrote 6. Because by Benjamin Hoff. They're both philosophy books. The Tao of Pooh and the Tea of Piglet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, because I know in the introduction of his book he says it's pronounced dare, but then when we looked it up online it said it's just tea. I don't know. But anyways, the Tao of Pooh and Tea of Piglet excuse me, by Benjamin Hoff. Those are amazing. I took a lot of philosophy classes in university, and I had to read a lot of well-known philosophy authors, but this was the first time like choosing a philosophy book on my own, and it was really interesting. Yeah.
And they're fun reads. Like, so essentially they go over Winnie the Pooh and
all the characters and compare them to Taoism and stuff like that. And it's really cool. It makes it easier to understand the Taoism, I feel like.
Yeah, it's very playful. It's very just, it's a nice read. Mm-hmm. I like that one too. I haven't read the Tao of Pooh. I've read the Tea of Piglet a few years ago, and it was great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I think that books like that just really spark conversations.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy most is like, you know, you read a chapter and then right after you're like, oh my God, I need to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah. And then I think this year for myself, my goal is to maybe not like you, maybe not put a number on it, even though it was really fun and it kind of kept
the momentum going.
Yeah. Kept me motivated to continue reading. So maybe if I do decide to put a number, it'll probably just be 24 again. But I think I'm going to try and focus more on reading more nonfiction.
Nonfiction, yeah.
I really want to look into more just educational novels or books. Things that are like easy to read, though. I don't want to pick up textbooks, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that's counterproductive, but yeah. Do you have any goals for your reading? I know you kind of already mentioned it, but
I think I'm definitely going to slow it down. I've started Susanna Clarke's other book right now called Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
It's a 1,000-page book.
It's by far the biggest book I've ever read.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's going to take me all of January.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess my goal is going to be 12 books, you know, one a month.
Yeah.
Just so that there's no pressure.
You'll probably surpass that.
I think I will too. Absolutely. But there is one more book I just want to quickly mention because I think a lot of people have read it and it's just a conversation starter, and that's House of Leaves, which I read back in the summer. And in the next episode of We All Speak in Poems, that
it's going to be spoken about.
You know, speaks about it. And that was a very interesting book. Everybody says it was horror, scary stuff, but it was more just interesting to me.
I haven't read that one yet, The House of Leaves, but I think I'm planning on reading that one this year. Like, yeah, because I'm still going to read fiction throughout, but I just want to read more nonfiction.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Oh, another book that I want to shout out.
Okay, sure.
We just read it, so it's like, I don't know if it counts for 2022 or 2021, but The Strange Library.
Oh, yes.
Who's that one by? I bought it for you for Christmas, actually.
Yeah, another one recommended by Neon Pajamas.
Yes.
Go on to neonpajamas.com and just read all the books he's reading because they're amazing. Haruki Murakami.
That's the author?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is actually a novella. Apparently it's for children. Really? I didn't know that.
I guess I can see that. When I was reading it, I could see it being sort of like a bedtime story type thing. But it's pretty dark.
Yeah, it's like the Grimm brothers version of fairy tales. Yeah. I feel like it's very dark like that. It was really good, though.
I really liked that one, too.
That was a good one. Okay.
So I guess we'll get right into live videos that we've been watching a lot.
Yeah.
The first one that I want to talk about is Black Alasia by Moses Sumney. Moses Sumney is like my favorite artist right now. And this live video is just fantastic. The whole vision behind it and everything is just,
We've watched it so many times and I still can't get enough of it. It's so good.
Yeah. We actually listened to it today.
Yeah, just before we came on here.
Yeah.
And then another one actually that we watched today that I want to mention is Jack and Water. His You Don't Feel Like Home live video is so good.
Yeah.
And I love that he actually comes in and talks throughout it because when you're at a concert, I mean, it depends who you go to see, but I love when the artists just kind of, after a song, they sit and talk for a minute, whether it's to introduce the next song or just explain the reasoning behind the next song or something along those lines. And he does that throughout that live video and I love it so much.
Yeah, I thought that was really smart of Will to put that in. It's like just keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
I think all of a sudden he's, talking at
there.
you and it's like I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But it was very good. I love his whole, we'll talk about it soon, but his whole new album, You Don't Feel Like Home is fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the best of this year. Another one is The Contortionist. They came up with an Exoplanet and Clairvoyant live show on YouTube. And they're just heavy and great and just fantastic.
Yeah, they're both amazing. I think my favorite was Exoplanet.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's
just
watched that one.
and just great.
And we've watched that one a lot more. We just keep going back to it.
I mean, to be fair, we paid for both of them when they first
Yeah.
live streamed it. But now I can only find the Exoplanet one on YouTube.
Oh, maybe
That's why we haven't watched Clairvoyant.
Yeah, and I can't remember it as well.
I mean, yeah, they're just playing Clairvoyant, which is a fantastic album. But the energy of the whole Exoplanet one is just fantastic.
It's heavier.
And if you're into metal and progressive metal and stuff, you should definitely check those out.
Yeah.
Because they're just... I could watch it right now.
Another one that I have written down is Joe Van, Found in the Smoke Live.
Yeah.
That whole video, like the vibe, the atmosphere, they set it up so nicely and it fits so well with the music that they play.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
When that came out this year too.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I saw it. Like, I'm a big fan of Joey Vananucci. I think is how you pronounce his name. He's from Indian Lakes as well.
And Joe Van.
And Joe Van. And this the quality on this live performance was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good. I was really surprised. But that's another one that we watch like a lot.
Yeah. Well, I was really surprised because that album came out this year and then I feel like it was fairly quickly after the live came out. So I'm assuming he like pre-planned it or something, but
makes sense because he couldn't tour.
I think it just made my connection with that video so much better because he had released the album and I had it on repeat for so long. And then not long after, he was like, oh, here's the live session. And then I had that on repeat forever.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that one's called just Found in the Smoke.
Yeah,
Live?
Found in the Smoke Live. Yeah, because that's the name of the album.
Yeah. Raphael Weinroth Brown, who does cello for me, and is just fantastic. He came out with his solo project. I think it was this year as well. It could have been last year. You know, this year and last year blurred together a lot.
They did. I'm pretty sure it came out this year, though. It was fairly recent.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, the videos, but if you just YouTube Raphael Weinroth Brown live, it'll come up.
Yeah.
We'll also have that on our Instagram, like I've been saying 1,000 times. But it's all like cello, progressive songwriting, just really crazy stuff. Like he's a very rhythmic player and stuff in his solo stuff, and it's just really inspiring.
So he actually released the videos all throughout this year. So it looks like it started in about February, and then he slowly released the other songs. So it's all the songs are separate. But yeah.
Yeah, nice. And then the last one is The Doe.
Well, we have a bunch of others. It's just they don't have full sessions like the ones that we just mentioned.
I remember talking about
this. So we obviously spent a lot of time on YouTube this year watching live concerts because with the pandemic, we haven't been to a concert since 2019 probably.
Yeah.
I'm assuming our last one was 2019. So yeah, we've just been spending a lot of time watching that on YouTube, and we found a lot that weren't full sessions that we really enjoyed, such as Bon Iver, his Sydney Opera House.
I mean, any of Bon Iver.
That's true, but specifically his Sydney Opera House
those
ones
5 tracks
were our favorite, which I guess could be considered a full session. But anyways, and then Tosh Sultana,
which is a relatively new find for you.
Yeah, and her whole Lonely Land studio, all of those sessions, just so perfect. The quality is so good, and her energy, I can feel it like through the screen. It's so beautiful. And then the Doe, who also, they just give off the best energy in their videos. Specifically, I'm going to butcher this word, but the one where they're in Studio Piggly? I don't know. It's the Both Ways Open Jaws videos. I think there's only like 5 of those ones.
Yeah, at least on YouTube. I've been trying to find the rest of them because I read somewhere that there's like 10 of them.
Yeah.
But I can't find them. I don't know. So.
And then, we've just been exploring a lot of Tiny Desk, and one that really stuck out to us was Georgia Smith and Aurora, of course.
Oh, yeah, Aurora. Yeah. I almost forgot about her. Yeah. But yeah, those are the live videos that we've had on repeat all year. Because I guess it was at the start of the year that we just started putting them on.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's been most of my listening.
Yeah, me too.
For this year. Like, as much as I thought I listened to a lot of music this year, I really didn't. Like my Spotify Wrapped was nothing but the songs I play on drums.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what that says. But I guess that's a nice segue. So right now we're going to do our non-ambient albums, and then right after we're going to do our 5 favorite ambient albums of 2022, which not all of them came out in 2022, but that's okay. So I'll start first, I guess. For non-ambient albums, once again, I think all these did come out in 2022, but if I'm wrong, that's fine. So I have A Tear in the Fabric of Life by Knocked Loose, which was on repeat when it was coming out. Like, I love that EP. Yeah. I guess it's not even an album, it's an EP. But if you're into sort of hardcore or metal in general, it's just very good. I've heard some bad things about the vocalist, just that his voice is the same all the time.
Oh, okay.
But in this album, he just knocks it out of the park. It is so good. And it's one of the first new albums that I've learned on drums in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
So that was fun too. And then I have Sling by Claro, which I was obsessed with when I first heard it as well. It is so good.
That's more like indie.
Yeah, it's
right?
like indie pop, and which usually I'm not that into.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised because I didn't get very into that album, and you did.
I think it's because it's pretty it's kind of sleepy. It's subdued. You know? It's good.
It's got a good vibe for sure.
And then the next one I have is Mother Melancholia by Soli, because Soli can do no wrong. This album is the perfect Halloween album.
Yeah, and it came out around that time, right?
Yeah, it is. I guess you could probably consider it ambient, but that's okay. It's really good. You should 100% check it out. There's string sections in this are the best she's ever composed, I feel like. They're so good.
I can't remember the term that people were using to describe the genre. It's it wasn't dark ambient, was it?
No, it's not dark ambient. I have it written down somewhere. Chamber doom pop.
Oh, is that what it was?
Which makes a lot of sense. It's all chambery stuff, just, a select handful of strings and doom pop.
To me, it was just very dark and haunting, and I adored it. I really did.
It was really, really good.
Yeah.
And then the next one I have is Found in the Smoke, which we've already mentioned, by Jovan. It's another indie one, but it's mostly acoustic.
Yeah.
With a few electronics here and there. I just really love Jovan's voice.
Yeah.
I love it. He's very, very, very
He's
good.
got such a wide range, which obviously doesn't show just within his Jovan album, but from Indian Lakes, he displays that more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. He does falsettos and lower and kind of not screaming, but yelling.
Yeah.
In a sense. And it's just so good. And then I have You Don't Feel Like Home by Jack and Water, which for me, this didn't come out this year, but for everybody else it did.
Oh, yeah, true.
I was listening to this a lot last year when he first sent it to me, and I was obsessed with it for a while. And then when it came out, I'd already exhausted my listening of it, but I've been coming back to it again, and it's...
Because I've been listening to it.
Yeah, and it's such a great album, seriously. You have to check it out because Will just killed it.
Yeah.
So
again, we obviously have quite a few similar ones on our lists. Yeah. I tried not to put too many of the same ones. When I heard your list, I was like, okay, maybe I'll change a few. But I also kept solely Mother Melancholia. Is that how you? Mother Melancholia?
Yeah.
I could just go on about this album forever. It is so good.
Yeah. I think it was one of the first albums in a while where when we first heard it, we just played it again right afterwards.
Yeah, we just kept playing it over and over again. We got the vinyl for it, and we just played it on our vinyl player over and over. Mm-hmm. It was actually really funny because when we started watching the YouTube live videos, we looked up Soli's older, on KEXP and stuff, her live sessions. And so we were watching a lot of those, which we have always loved her older albums as well. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she came out with this, and we were like...
Yeah, it was pretty random. I knew that she was working on an album.
Yeah.
But then because she came out with that single, and then it just dropped, and I was like, okay. So, this is a fantastic album, and I think anybody that's fans of ambient will like it.
Honestly, though, you have to just sit down and play it from beginning to ending and just experience it. It's just so beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely one of those albums.
Yeah. And then another similar one that I wrote down was Joe Van, Found in the Smoke, which I already spoke about. I played it on repeat so much. It's so beautiful. And then I wrote in Ciolina. So she actually came out with a new album this year, which we talked about in our ambient list. But I found that this year I was playing her Shallow album so much. It's not on Spotify. It's on her Bandcamp.
Yeah. So something interesting this year, I don't know what happened. I don't know if she's the one who uploaded them, or hopefully nobody's stealing it, because I know that does happen when people don't have their music on Spotify. Other people re-upload it. But she finally put up her other albums around the time that her newest album, Weaving a Basket, came out. And I was so happy to hear that. For years, I've just been like, I want to be able to have these in an accessible place.
Yeah.
Especially since those older albums you can't get on vinyl.
No, you can't. We have Shallow on vinyl, but we don't have the other two.
Yeah. Sleeplessness and I guess just Ciolina is the title of it.
Yeah. I think your assumption for that when it first came out was actually that she must have been signed to a label or something along those lines. And then her,
But I'm just assuming that Shallow is in for a longer
because it's still not on Spotify. But I played it over and over again on my Bandcamp, and we have the vinyl, like I mentioned, and I was playing it so much on there.
Speaking of Bandcamp, I was just talking a lot about Spotify. Just go and listen on Bandcamp. It's not
just buy the album on there and then listen.
It's not as good as a user experience.
It isn't at all.
But hopefully, eventually, if more people use it, and I don't know, I've got high hopes for Bandcamp. Anyways, that's a whole other thing.
We're not sponsored by Bandcamp,
but please sponsor us, because I would.
It's funny. Okay, and then my last two, I wrote. Tyler, the Creator. I listened to him a lot this year.
Oh, Call Me If You Get Lost? Or
that was his new album that came out, Call Me If You Get Lost. And honestly, I really loved it. But the thing that ruined it for me was the DJ in it. It just gave me such 2000s vibes.
Which was the point, because he has a deep history in hip hop and
rap. And I get it, and I appreciated it, and there's still a handful of songs on that album that I love so much, and I listen to on repeat. But the whole album, I don't listen to it the same that I listen to Igor or Flower Boy. I think Igor is my favorite.
Yeah.
And that's the one I actually wrote down for this year. That album, I could just play it from beginning to ending over and over again. But Call Me If You Get Lost, it's also really good. It's just, there were only a few songs on there that I could play over and over again. Yes, it's just Igor's better. I just love how he can, honestly, if you go through his discography and listen from album to album to album, his style changes so much. And I personally really love it. We had this conversation the other day. A lot of smaller artists feel like they have to kind of start new aliases if they're wanting to change style or genre. But I personally really appreciate it when an artist comes out with something that's a completely new sound from their old sound. I think it's really cool.
Actually, interesting thing. I think last week or maybe sometime this week, I watched an interview with him because he started his clothing line and all of his stuff. And they actually talked about him using his name in the future and how he's looking into it and wants to, Tyler Akoma.
Oh, really?
Which is pretty interesting. If he changes Tyler, the Creator, to that, that'd be a surprise.
Yeah.
I think. But I was going to say, I think he would have a tough time coming up with other aliases and stuff because of his voice. Right?
Yeah, it's so, distinguishable, I guess. Yeah.
He's Tyler, the Creator. True. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then my last one, I wrote Tosh Sultana. She's someone I found, when was that? October, November? Yeah. And so these past 3 months, it's just been really prevalent in my mind. And I feel like I've listened to her a lot this year, but I haven't fully gone through her Flow State album or Terra Firma album. It's mainly been the YouTube stuff, but it's just influenced me a lot. So I had to write it down.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, her stuff's good. And then, so before we say our ambient albums, we made this list together, for the most part.
Yep. Because when it comes to ambient stuff, we're pretty similar. Whereas when it comes to non-ambient, you go to heavier stuff, and I go more to poppy indie stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why we wrote 2 separate lists for that.
Yeah, exactly. And so we didn't listen to that much ambient this year. But the ones that I did listen to, I was obsessed with, and I played them on repeat, and they're so inspirational to me that I just didn't even feel the need to look into more ambient this year. And once again, these aren't in order, and I'm sure we've forgotten 1,000 releases.
Yeah.
And please recommend them to us if we missed your favorite, because I want to hear it.
Whether it was from this year or not, or last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't even matter. If it's one of the Stars of the Lid albums, I don't care. I want to hear it again. So, once again, in no particular order. Myrrh by Taylor Dupree. I'm not sure when it came out this year, but as soon as it did, it was just repeating for me. Like, it was so good. It's all like edited piano, ambient piano kind of stuff. Not ambient piano, you know what I mean.
Just like minimal piano.
No, it's more experimental piano, and it's like super edited.
Oh.
It's really, 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 really good. But you know, like you just said, I don't often share a lot of the ambient music that I love, because for me, I feel like ambient music is like, you have to listen to it alone. You have to discover it on your own.
Yeah, it's not something that we like play in the car or anything.
No, not always, except one of these I did.
But, okay.
The next one is Upstream Dream by Slow Meadow. A couple episodes ago, I was talking about how he came out with his couple singles, and I didn't listen to them right away and stuff. But as soon as Upstream Dream came out, the full EP, oh man, that is a EP. Wow. Like,
blew you away. It
really did. I don't understand how he does it. He's just so good. Like, seriously, I want to get to know him. The next one is Light Past Blue by Alex Sommers and Asuka Matsumiya, which this one's actually probably at the top of my list.
Yeah.
This, I guess, they're all EPs. This is the one I played in the car a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that string section that just repeats throughout the whole thing was so inspiring to me. Like, just when somebody does something that you don't expect, and then you realize, like, as the example for this, so he essentially took the string part and just repeated it through 6 tracks, and not repeated, but he does a lot of different stuff with it. But you can do that. You know, when you're reminded that you can do stuff like that, it's so cool and it's so inspiring, and I'm 100% copying him.
I mean, anything by Alex Sommers is amazing, because he's from Yonzi and Alex.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like Rice Boy Sleeps by Yonzi and Alex, you're going to like this.
Yeah.
And actually, when I was writing all these down, I didn't know that it was a collaboration between him and Asuka Matsumiya. I don't know what parts, who did what, but I think that's worth mentioning. Oh, it works very well. The next one is Burning House by Isaac Helson.
Yeah.
So we actually are going to have him, well, we've already interviewed him. He's going to be on the podcast soon. He's, I think, episode 12 or something. But he mentions this album in that episode, and then he sent it to me afterwards. And man, it's such a good just drone album. Like,
my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm a big drone fan.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it's so hard to do a really compelling drone album, I feel like, you know, but he knocked it out of the park. The imagery for it is amazing. He's a really good, just like, visual guy, I feel like. And it's just good, you know. I can't wait for that album to come out so that everybody can hear his process for this album, because it was really good, and he deserves to be heard. And then the last one is Weaving a Basket by Ciolina.
Yes, which I knew you were going to mention. Yeah.
Which, oh man,
it's beautiful.
After so long of no music by Ciolina, all of a sudden you wake up to an email on Bandcamp saying there's a new Ciolina album.
It's the best day ever.
You go, that's not real, is it?
She is so, like, the way she sings, and she's just so dreamy. Like, that's the word that comes to my mind when we talk about Ciolina, is just dreamy.
I'm just so jealous of the way that she, you know, kind of not markets herself, but puts herself out there.
Yeah.
She's not on any social media except for Twitter, but the last tweet she put was like 4 years ago or something. She doesn't have an Instagram. All she has is a Bandcamp. But
she's got some solid fans like us.
This is what I'm saying. And I understand why. She's obviously unbelievably talented, but I wish I didn't have to have an Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man. But yeah, that album, Weaving a Basket, if there's still vinyl available, you should definitely get it.
Yeah.
You should stream it because it's on Spotify now, which is great.
Not just this one, all of them.
Except for Shallow.
No, I mean like all of the albums we've mentioned.
Oh, yeah. All these are. And they're all on Bandcamp as well, so you should check out them all. And then if you really like them, you should buy them.
I'm sorry, my love. I can't just not mention these ones. So speaking of ambient and drone, Lutz Jennings also came out with an album and an EP last year called Passive and Dialogues.
Oh, I wonder who that is.
I wonder whose side project is Lutz Jennings.
You know, making those two, those are really fun albums. And that's the whole reason that I started Lutz, was because I just put on the tape machine and just let things run. Like, I think there's a song on Passive that's like 18 minutes long.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why I love Lutz so much, because it's so much more drone heavy, I feel like.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's completely drone.
And it's my favorite. Like, you listen to it and it just brings you to another world and you get lost, and it's so beautiful. I don't know.
Thank you.
And then obviously Alaskan Tapes came out with For Us Alone at the start of last year, right? Was that the start
it
of
came
the year?
out sometime.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It doesn't feel like For Us Alone came out this year.
I know, it doesn't. It feels like it came out like 2019, 2020,
like
but
2 years
no,
ago.
it came out 2021.
Yeah, and I really like that album too. There's a couple
Yeah.
things. This is the first album that there's a couple things that I would change.
Yeah, I remember you having a little bit of regret right when it came out. You were like, oh shit.
Just because it's not even any of the songwriting or anything. I didn't record real drums for it. I recorded my electric kit through Superior Drummer, which does fine, and I feel like it's still translated well enough, but in my head I know it's not completely real drums. There's obviously real cymbal swells and real cymbals in it, but the drums itself are not. And yeah, that was a fun album to make. But the thing with that one too is a lot of those songs were made in 2019.
Yeah.
Which
is
kind
not
of
a thing you usually do.
No. Well, yeah. I mean, I think I've talked about it on here. Signing to the label and stuff 2 years ago kind of shifted my whole schedule.
Made you slow down.
Yeah. So that's the reason that took so long to come out. But we're back up to pace now, and it's going to be a lot more music. And I think 2021 was a really great year for music. Like, I didn't hear much bad music that I didn't like. And I'm hoping 2022 is the same.
Before we wrap it up, I just have one question for you. In 2022, what is your plans as Alaskan Tapes for music?
Should I say everything?
If that's up to you.
Oh yeah, I guess, you know, for people that listen to this is a nice little spoiler for the year. So I have singles coming out, 3 more ABs, which I'm very proud of. At the end of last year, I came out with those 2 AB singles, which probably could have got polished up a little bit and maybe possibly scrapped. I'm not completely happy with them, but that's besides the point. The ones coming out in January and February. Oh wait, no, there's not going to be one in February, in March. I'm really proud of. They're really good. And then I've got a vocal collaboration with a very exciting vocalist.
Yes. Don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it?
Don't
Okay.
spoil it.
Okay.
I mean, unless you want to, but...
I was going to, but no, I'm not going to. But that'll be out in April. And it's something I've been working towards for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You know? And finally we got on the same schedule, and we've just been working away. Now we're working on some of his solo stuff, and it's been very fun. It's been very, very fun. And then there's going to be another album out at the end of the year. Technically, it's completely inspired by Piranesi, my favorite book of the year.
Which I'm so excited about.
I haven't even started it, but I will soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, you've been talking about the ideas for it.
Yeah, I have it all planned out in my head, which will make it really easy to write. And I'm hoping that'll come out in November. that's kind of my plan for it. I don't want anything to come out in December. And am I missing anything else?
What about for Lutes?
Lutes, I don't have a plan for, but I'm sure there'll be another album this year.
Yeah, I feel like you never really plan anything for Lutes. It's just kind of like if you're feeling it,
Yeah.
you make it and you put it up.
Exactly, and that's why I really like Lutes. It reminds me a lot of when I first started making music on SoundCloud. Like, you'd spend the whole night making a song, and you just throw it up on SoundCloud the next morning.
Yeah.
And that would be that. Nobody cared. Nobody was trying to figure out the best timing and marketing and all that stuff. And that's exactly what this is. That's probably why a lot of listeners haven't heard Lutes.
Yeah.
Because I don't really care if people hear it. Yeah, and I think it'll be really exciting in a few years if the people that haven't heard it still all of a sudden come across 5 albums.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to sort of dig through it and do that. But I mean, who knows? Maybe this year I'll actually start, posting about Lutes and that, because I'm very proud of Passive and
Yes.
Dialogues. I've talked about it a lot, but with Chantal, I kind of wish that I saved Passive for Alaskan Tapes. But it's fine.
It belongs on Lutes.
It belongs on Lutes. It's a Lutes album.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I hope everybody had a relatively safe and happy 2021.
And found lots of good music that we would
Yeah.
love to hear your recommendations for, because
Yes.
we're always looking for new music,
Please
no
send
matter
us
the
it.
genre.
Yeah. And I hope 2022's better,
Yeah.
or just as good if you had a great last year, or only better. And
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
come out with a new episode next week, so stay tuned for that.